Andrew Mack here with MMA Island. Today I'm with Conor Hews, who's making his MMA debut at Combat FC2 in a couple of days. Conor, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So tell me about your background. How did you get into martial arts?
So originally I started, like quite a lot of people, with the Conor McGregor era. I kind of started watching then, kind of built up with that, and eventually I was driving by and I just saw Hensel Gracie, New Hampshire, and popped in there one day, started doing jiu-jitsu, and next thing you know I was kind of working my way into MMA and fighting, and eventually I just felt confident enough to where I should take it to go into the cage.
So how long did you train under Henzo for? Or at the school, rather?
I trained with Henzo's for about three and a half years, and then I made the transition over here to the Cartel Gym.
So how'd that transition go? How'd they find you, and how'd you come here?
So originally I started training with Nick Fiore. He's the one who's my head coach, kind of brought me up from essentially nothing to what I am now. And from there I started training with him. Rob and Calvin would make their way into to Henzo's. And eventually it was just kind of a band of us that kind of were committed to competing and to the training that kind of migrated over here about 6 months ago. So it was kind of just like a natural migration of people who were looking to make a more competitive, I guess, venture into the sport that moved their way over to the Cartel Gym.
So how's it been training with the Cartel?
It's been great, man. It's a dream come true for me. I mean, I've watched these guys on TV for God knows how long, and to be able to learn from everybody, Rob, Calvin, Nick, Tom, all these guys, it's just unmatched, man. I feel like I'm learning so much every day, and I'm just getting better every single session that I come in here, and all the guys I train with are just such savages.
So would you say you're training more now with the Cartel than you do with Henzo, or is it about the same?
I'm full-time with the Cartel now. Yeah, I'm just full-time training here. I got like a lot of good training partners over here jiu-jitsu wise. I do my kickboxing over at Hard Knocks in Boston with Jake Manini, and my boxing with Sean Farley down in Haverhill. So I feel like it's a good combination of all those three that kind of makes everything transition well to MMA.
So most beginners they have struggle with balancing like different styles. At what point in your training do you think that you really got good at balancing those styles and meshing them together?
So I feel like that was my biggest issue, right? I felt like I had good striking, I had good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu. It was just about being able to blend everything. I feel that since I transitioned over here to the Cartel Gym, that's been their main focus, right? Is being able to take all of those skills and put it all together. So I feel like being able to work with these guys has really showed me a different level of being able to not just be a striker, be a jiu-jitsu player, be just a complete martial artist, mixing the martial arts. You know what I mean? It kind of works in the name.
So Coach Tyson talked about having everyone to have to earn their keep. How do you feel you've earned your keep with the Cartel?
Just showing up every day. I feel like anybody here will tell you that I really try to show up as much as possible, regardless of any situation, injured, minor injuries, whatever. I just try to show up every session and give everything I got, and I feel like that's all you really can do. And I feel like I'm able to, even with my smaller frame, give these guys some good work.
So you had to pull out of your last fight due to injury. How'd that injury happen?
So funny enough, I was at my strength and conditioning gym. I was actually going to help this woman grab something from on top of a weight rack, and I jumped up trying to grab it, and I slammed my hand into a metal weight rack and split it down to the bone. So got a nice little scar there to remember. And I remember thinking to myself that same day, I'm like, wow, I'm going into this fight completely healthy. I'm like, I have no injuries. It's amazing. And the universe heard me. And so now I've learned my lesson to just be more safe and keeping myself in bubble wrap these next few days.
So how's your mentality after you had to pull out?
I was very disappointed. The first couple days, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty crushed. I was very prepared. Obviously, it was a kickboxing fight, not MMA, which I've prepared much more for MMA. But I still was very upset. But I just kind of took a couple days, and I keep the same mentality as guys like Calvin, just on to the next. You know what I mean? There's nothing more you can do than just prepare for the next competition. And so I just got right back on the horse and started training. Within, I think it was 6 or 7 days later, I could get back to grappling.
So you said you prefer to fight in MMA?
100%. Yeah, I'd love to be able to use all my skills to fully express myself.
So why do you keep getting stuck in kickboxing fights, or supposed to be in kickboxing fights?
People get injured. It's a dangerous sport. So I had my last, Combat Zone 76, I had an opponent. He ended up hurting his knee, had to pull out. And then my next opponent, I can't even remember what the issue was at the time, but he had to pull out about 2 weeks before. And again, I got another kickboxing fight. So it's a situation where it's kind of like you got to take what you get. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say no to competing in front of a crowd, but it's just a matter of like taking what I could get at the time. Now that I'm able to get an MMA fight, I'm jumping on the opportunity, and Combat FC has been great.
So how did you get with Combat FC? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you?
So Joe actually reached out to me. He messaged me on Instagram and actually asked me to come by and see one of their shows. Super professional the way he did it. He brought me in. I went and watched one of their shows. He sat me in really good seats, and I went in, watched it. It was super professional, very high level. I was like, this is a great promotion. So when the next card came up after my injury, I talked to him, and he booked me a fight within, I think it was 9 weeks out, 8 weeks out. And again, I had another injury to an opponent. And in my prior, experiences, I thought it was going to be a while before I get another one. And next thing I know, 2-3 days later, he's got me another fight booked.
So when you train for one opponent and you have to switch gears to fight another opponent, does that affect your mentality at all, or are you just going with the flow?
Nah, man, it's at this point, at first it kind of did when I was first getting ready. It used to really upset me, but at this point, Tom Pags has kind of put into my mind that you don't really ever imagine the person you're fighting is who they are. You're just putting a body, a blank face, you know what I mean? Conor McGregor used to say it's just a blank face, and that's kind of how I'm still thinking now. The fight's not official. I'm not in the cage with him yet. It could be anybody, so I'm ready to fight whoever, whether it's my opponent currently or someone new. I just stay ready for whoever.
So how would you say like the vibe of Combat FC is different from Combat Zone, which you fought for before?
I would say that I wouldn't say the vibe's very different. I would say that the New Hampshire crowd is pretty crazy. The guys over there are pretty insane. It gets real loud in there, but it's very, they're both very professional, both very good organizations. I would say Combat FC is definitely getting their feet wet, and they're starting out a little bit more. So they're kind of building more of a, I guess Combat Zone has more of a cult fan base, I guess you could say. But they're doing great, man. They're both doing great things, and I'm happy to have competed for both of them.
So let's talk about the walkout. Do you have a walkout song chosen yet?
Yes.
So people usually choose a walkout either to intimidate their opponent, to get the crowd riled up, to get their emotions on check. What's your walkout do for you?
So my walkout for this song is "Kick in the Door" by Biggie, and I guess I was just listening to it a lot during camp, just kind of as I'm driving here, whatever, and I feel like it kind of just is how my mentality is going to this fight. I want to kind of kick in the door of the MMA scene and kind of show what I can do and what I've been training for. It's been 3-4 years that I've been getting prepared to fight, and I feel more than prepared and more than ready to kind of show everybody what I'm going to do.
So how do you feel like your matchup with this new opponent is?
Good. I know their team. Julian is a really good fighter. He's really scrappy. He comes to fight. That's one of the things I said in a previous interview. He's there to win. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to get in there with somebody who's just kind of going to show up. I want to fight somebody who's really trying to compete and get a win in there. So I think it's a good matchup for me. He comes from a great camp, good coaches, KTA, Walter Kyoto, and Joey Gomez, great guys. So I'm expecting a good fight. I think it's going to be competitive, but at the same time, I think that my skill set in certain aspects of the game are more dominant than his, and I think I can definitely see myself coming out on top in this one.
So, not looking past your opponent, but what are some like long-term and short-term goals that you have for mixed martial arts?
So I guess I look at everything in the short term, because I feel like one of the sayings my grandfather used to say to me is people make plans and God laughs. So I try to not think too far ahead, but I definitely want to be one of the highest level martial artists in New England. That's my goal. Training with these guys, I just try to put in as much work as possible, and in the short term, I guess try to get out of this fight healthy and try to compete again one more time this year. That'd be best case scenario. And if I can have 4, 5, 6 fights by next year, that'd be perfect.
So you're training with the top skill of New England and the upcoming skill of New England. Where do you see New England MMA in, what year is it, 2022? 8 years, in 2030, sorry.
2030, man, hopefully I'll see myself in the UFC along with my teammate Fred. But I see a lot of guys coming from this camp, a lot of guys probably coming out of here and being competitive. I feel like the guys in the cartel are building a great team. They're building a lot of competitive guys, and they're building a mindset that I feel like is different from a lot of a lot of gyms. I feel like it's a professional job here. You know what I mean? Like I do have things on the side that I do, but this is my full-time job. Like this is what I commit myself to fully, and I feel like that's part of the reason why, like Tyson said, you have to carry your weight. You have to make this your number one priority. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like I've done.
So, after the fight, what do you want your mentality to be? Win, lose, or draw?
Get back on the horse and get another one. It's chasing life on the other side of the win, as Calvin says. It's like a good example he actually gave me the day of my kickboxing fight at Combat Zone 76. I'd walked up to him and talked to him, and he talked to me about how fighting is like a roller coaster, right? You stand in line, and it's like you're waiting in the back. You're all nervous. You start going up the hill. It's like your walkout's getting ready. You're super nervous. You get to the top, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. You start going down the hill. It's the best time of your life. You love it, and then you stop, and you go, I want to do that again. So I feel like as soon as I get out of there, regardless, I'm either going to want to get out of there and get back into another win, or I want to get back in there and improve myself regardless of the outcome.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you for a couple of your favorites. If you want to give a story, you can give a story. If you just want to give the favorite move on, you can just give the favorite move on.
Cool.
Yeah, your favorite fight on this card besides your own. It's a very stacked card.
Yeah, it's a good card. That's a tough one. I would have to say Mikey Bulger's fight. I'm a big fan of Mikey Bulger. He trains with me over at Havel Inner City. I'm excited to see him. He's a real great competitor, and I've seen the work that dude puts in. He's gonna do some damage. So I'm excited to watch his fight.
Your favorite regional fighter besides you?
Fred Allen's fair.
Besides your team,
Okay, I tried. My favorite regional fighter. Would Lucas Rosa count as a regional fighter?
Sure.
I guess, yeah. He's regional. I love watching him fight. I got to do some video work for him. He's a real cool kid, and I enjoyed being around him. So yeah, I'd say Lucas Rosa other than my teammates.
Your favorite big league fighter besides Calvin and Rob?
My favorite big league fighter. As of right now, that's a tough question. I'd have to say right now, Charles Oliveira. It's just Du Bronx, man. Du Bronx is the man.
What's your prediction for that fight?
Du Bronx, man. I think.
What rounds? What method?
I think he's going to. I've always thought since the fight got announced he's going to win by submission, probably by a guillotine in like the second or third round. I think that Islam's very good with that cage work, but he has a tendency to kind of leave his neck out there like Khabib does, and I feel like Oliveira is the highest level guy to be able to capitalize on that opportunity.
Your favorite submission to hit?
Triangles. Or actually, no, I can't take that back. Rear naked chokes. Just something about rear naked strangling somebody just hits different.
Your favorite fight to watch?
I would have to say I watch a lot of fights. I would have to say Khabib versus Michael Johnson. This is just a masterclass. I'd love watching that fight. I've watched it 1,000 times over. So
what do you do outside of the cage? I know you do some like pay-per-view productions or something?
Yes, so I have a photography business that I run. It's kind of a side business at the time, just kind of while I'm focusing on fighting. I do sports photography, wedding photography, stuff like that, and it's kind of a good job for a fighter because it allows me to kind of have something on the side that I can do on my own schedule and not have to worry about, working a 9 to 5, doing a certain amount of work, and I can kind of pan things out the way I need to.
I remember Mike Pulver, Cage Titans promoter, complaining about like some of the photos that he gets are just like absolutely terrible. It's like, out of your gym, there at least has to be one photographer. Maybe you can be that guy that just goes around taking pictures of everyone.
I'd be more than happy to help. Pulver, hit me up. Give me a call. At Pay-Per-View Productions on Instagram.
Any training partners, coaches, sponsors you want to shout out?
So I got a couple of them, Bell & Williams Associates right here, Ivan and Sam's Chimney guys. I also got Rye Guy Sports Cards, Wolfpack K9. They've all been super good sponsors to me. They've been able to allow me to kind of follow my dreams and fully commit to what I'm doing, not have to worry about financials nearly as much as I would. I also want to give a shout out to all my teammates here at the Cartel Gym. My main training partner, Fred, he's, comes and drills with me whenever I need. I can call him up at any hour and he'll help me. And then, of course, my coaches, Nick, Tom, Rob, Calvin, Tyson, Jake Manini, Sean Farley, my strength coach, Tom Levine. I could Nate Diaz shout out people for hours. But, yeah, man, just shout out to everybody who's helped me this entire camp and to everyone supporting me as well coming to the fight.
All right. Thank you for your time, Conor.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.